What's up, Brandon here, and today we're going to do a tier list of the best deadlift exercises. Now, I got some questions and recommendations for people. They wanted to see me use some tier lists, and so I found some ones that were made already. So these are not my exercises that I would choose. I'm going to do some of these first of exercises that people have already made, and then down the road, perhaps I'll make my own, as I'm sure there's things that I would add or take away that might be of better value to you. So let's go over those and see what those are. All right. So if you're new to the tier thing, we've kind of got best, decent, not great, C, D. So we're kind of going through some different ones here. So that's how they've kind of got these laid out. So just kind of hang with me how we go over these. So it looks like the first one here that we're going to kind of go with looks like a back extension off of the 45-degree back raise with the barbell, Pete Rubish style, so deadlift off of that. I actually like this exercise, so I'm going to go with decent. Pain in the butt to set up, but if we're talking about crushing your glutes, your hamstrings, your low back, you could even say your grip as well. You could certainly do that, so I really like this exercise here. Looks like next is going to be deadlifting against bands. Big fan. Big fan of doing banded deadlifts. Works on speed off the floor, helps develop your lockout. I think maybe people don't understand how to actually drive through the floor as hard as they possibly can. This exercise is one of my go-tos. Looks like next is going to be the belt squat. I'm just going to put not great. Good for developing your lower body strength, certainly. It's hard to tell whether they're actually doing like marching or squatting. So I'm just going to go that they're saying squatting. So again, going to help with your legs, particularly leg drive. You're a conventional deadlifter, but outside of that, now if we're talking belt squat marching, I'd actually probably put this up at decent. But we're going to leave it at not great and just assume that's a squat. Next exercise looks like it's going to be a bent over row. I'm going to go with C. In terms of actually building your deadlift, I'm not a big fan on the bent over row. I think it's okay in terms of building some upper back strength. I really like doing this with a cambered bar if I had to pick for increased range of motion. But again, I'm asking this for more back development than I am necessarily my deadlift. If I was actually going to pick a row variation, I probably would pick the pin lay if I was going to pick one. And I would probably actually give that either not great or decent, but wouldn't go any higher on that. Next is going to be, it looks like the deficit deadlift. Oh, really like this. Going towards best. Again, looks more like a deadlift, but also with conventional deadlifters, teaching them how to use their legs from the floor. This lets them get that leg driver, that push. I think too many people try to pull on their deadlift and not think of so much of a push, especially when we're talking about the conventional deadlift. So really like this. I'll try to actually order these up. I'm gonna leave this right behind the banded deadlift, just shortly behind it. I think it's probably a toss-up for me. Just depends on who I'm working with or what's going on. So it kind of depends, but still definitely in that best category. Glute ham raise, going for decent. And the reason I'm going for decent is because the amount of people that can't do a glute ham raise is actually quite amazing. At least a proper one. If you can do them properly, they're going to fry your glutes and your hamstrings. And I actually just did these the other day, and for the first time in a while. I'm usually more of an inverse curl guy, but decided to do some high rep glute ham raises to end my lower body day, and I was feeling in my hamstrings the next day. Till it's been a while. Again, it's a very unique exercise. I think highly underrated for posterior chain development. Next would be the lat pull down. Sorry, I'm going D tier here. Not my thing. I think if you're looking for back development, it's okay. I would go with more of a neutral grip, better range of motion, better contraction, at least what research has said. Like a wide grip one or just a regular lat pull down. Again, you're going to develop your lats. But I don't know if I want to say it's a good deadlift exercise for your deadlift. Again, if you want your lats incredibly tight, I think there's better exercises to choose. And honestly, I would just pick a chin up as well if I had to go that route. Leg press. Ooh. This one's tough because again, depends on how you implement it. If we're just doing regular leg press, probably going C or D tier. If we're going with like dead stops and actually working on pushing, like again, how we kind of talked about the deficit deadlift, I could go to not great or decent. So I'm going to go C here on this, and I'm actually going to put it above the bent over row just a little bit. Not a lot. I think, again, for lower body volume, it's okay, but outside of that, it's not really anything. I do like it better than lat pull down, so that's why I'm going to go with C. And I already talked about the bent over row. The Nordic, assuming people do them right for your deadlift, I'm actually going to give it a nod over a glute ham raise. But I would pick the inverse curl if it was me. So that's why I'm going to kind of lump that with inverse curl and go better. I don't think it's necessarily the best. And now if we're talking athletic development, for sure it would get my best. But we're talking about the deadlift. I'm going to give it just a little bit of a nod over the glute ham raise, mainly because of the strictness that we can do the exercise and how perfect we can get it. If it's one of these Nordics where you're just flopping, then it really starts to drop. But we're going to assume that you can actually do them correctly. This looks like it's going to be sumo deadlift. I don't know why. I don't think we're getting too particular here, but we'll just go towards best and first because it's the freaking movement. So yeah, I guess if we're looking at this as your sumo deadlift, help your conventional. I still would put it on best here. I think too many people don't have enough hip strength in general, and it wouldn't hurt or it wouldn't behoove you to do some different stance work. So I'm okay with that. Next exercise looks like it's going to be, it looks like he's got these on here a couple times. I'm going to go on squat here. I think this is actually the last one. I don't know why they have these on here multiple times. Squat, again, depends how you squat. I'm going to go with not great, but I'm going to give it the nod over the belt squat. Because obviously we're doing some free weight work here. And again, I don't know why these are on here twice. Weird. Okay. But anyways, yeah, so we're going to go with the squat as the not great. It's probably just underneath decent. And again, depends on how you squat. So again, if you're a conventional lifter and you're doing like a narrow stance, close box squat, I think you're going to get some good development there. If you're a sumo puller and you're doing wide stance box squats, again, I think this exercise starts to move up and how I like it. So it kind of depends. But as just a regular squat for building and helping your deadlift, I'm going to go with not great. It could be great or decent or best or however this wants to do it. But that's how I'm going to go with those exercises. So considering these are on here twice, again, I don't know why, so I apologize for that. But if we're talking about these particular exercises, first I'm going to go with the sumo deadlift, specificity first. But even if we go sumo and you're a conventional deadlifter, I think that's a good place to start and build your hip strength. This might move back a little bit if you are just a conventional deadlifter. I might lean towards the banded pulls for specificity reasons in terms of stance. But obviously your sumo deadlift goes first, deadlift against band second, and deficit deadlift third, especially for conventional pullers. So you could make a deficit sumo wise as well. And I would encourage you to do that if you are a sumo puller and you have issues off the floor. So yeah, those would be my three. As you can tell, pretty kind of specific towards the movement, right? Decent. Again, we go back to the back extension. It looks like Pete Rubish is doing here. Again, this looks kind of like the exercise. Glute hamstring specific, grip, still kind of deadlifting. That'd be very posterior chain heavy. I think that's a good exercise. Then we got like the Nordic and the glute ham raise. I kind of talked about why I like the Nordic over the glute ham if done correctly. But those would be next because, again, it's the posterior chain development towards the exercises. Then we kind of got our squat variations here. Again, could be better, but they're not bad. They're going to build lower body strength. They're still going to help your deadlift to some extent. But how specific we got in those would then change where I'm going to put these on those tiers. C tier, I don't like the way they name these. They should have just kept it with A, B, whatever. C, leg press. Again, you could get this a little bit more specific and we could move it up the list if we were talking about different stances or doing dead stop work, but just lower body volume. It kind of takes a back seat for me for the deadlift. Talking about squat, this is probably going to move up a little bit. And then the bent over row. Again, I think this would move up to not great, to maybe even really low level decent if it was a pin lay row, but just a regular bent over row. I don't think it's fantastic for your deadlift. It's not awful, but there's definitely better things we could be doing. And lat pull down, I'm just not giving it anything. I'm giving it a D tier. You should still do some lat work, but in terms of helping your deadlift, probably not going to be much. So there you go. It's kind of actually pretty offset, but as you can see, things are kind of grouped together pretty specifically. So I do think that this, for me, is what I would kind of look at when I go to do programming for people or help people with their deadlifts. The best and decent are things that I'm programming kind of on a regular basis to help them with their deadlift. The other things you will see sprinkled in, they may be used to help with back development or their squat, but maybe not something I'm using specifically to help towards their deadlifts. So, yeah, I think those cover the exercises that I've got today. Let me know what you think. Did I whiff on this? Was this really good? Would you move anything? Would you bump something up, relegate something down? There's obviously this is for interpretation purposes, right? There's not really a right or wrong. It's my opinion. But the way things ended up, this is honestly how I program and generally the exercises that I would pick and the exercises that are on here. Again, they're all not awful. You see these in a lot of powerlifting programs. So I think the exercises that were picked off this tier maker were pretty good. Just some things that I would tweak around. And like I said, maybe I make one of these of my own with my own exercises, which then probably would drift a little more towards best and decent in this case. But, I would be a little bit biased. That's why I kind of wanted to do these first because unbiased. I'm not picking the exercises. I'm merely picking them on where I would put them for my tier list of the best exercises to help your deadlift. So if you tuned in, I really appreciate it. This was really good. If you really like something like this, let me know. I'll make some more. The plan is obviously to do bench press and deadlift as well. But, again, I can start making my own individual ones for particular things. We could have some more fun with this. So thanks for checking in. Hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll catch you at the next one.